Sword and Shield booster boxes across the board are continuing to take another step up in price, including Evolving Skies, which we're now seeing nearing in on a $2,000 booster box. So things are going absolutely crazy. Welcome back to It Was Never a Face Cards. My name is TJ, where we talk daily about shiny pieces of cardboard, and I had to bust out the Gengar hat because Fusion Strike really started off this absolute massive movement when it comes to Sword and Shield era booster box pricing. Just within the past like 1 to 2 weeks, Fusion Strike was really what got it started. It started the movement and everyone started going back and looking at Sword and Shield boxes, and now Evolving Skies is finally starting to do its thing. It's pretty much all of the alternate art boxes across the Sword and Shield era with the exception of one, and we're going to break all that down and kind of talk about why this is happening and a little bit about the cycle that tends to happen with this, and then we're going to talk about potentially what is next. So let's just dive straight into it, and obviously we're going to start with Evolving Skies because this is a pretty massive move up in price, albeit not super surprising, but kind of the way that it's not surprising that Evolving Skies is going up, right? We all know Evolving Skies is going to at least, get to team up pricing, or if not surpass team up pricing at some point, and just continuing to move because this is regarded as like one of the greatest modern Pokemon boxes ever, with the greatest modern Pokemon card in it for a chase. So it's not surprising it's moving, but how quickly it's been happening. We've seen these like the market sleeps on these until something starts to move. And then once the prices start to increase, then a little bit of FOMO, a little bit of market coverage, and then things they explosively grow until they reach that next price point, and then they might cool down a little bit and retrace, or they stagnate for a few months. And that's really the pattern we've seen happen. This is just a repeating pattern, right? This isn't anything new. So I'm not surprised to see the movement, but just how quickly it happens sometimes can really come up on you. And right now you can see this is what we're looking at on TCG Player, lowest listeds for Evolving Skies. 1850, and then we're at 2,000. And you have a store right here that has 59 boxes. They're prepared to sell at $2,000 per box. Listed median price is $2,000. So we are on the cusp right there. And yes, it is not just TCG Player. This is what we're seeing on eBay as well. Now, you can see some lesser sales. People have been posting them around $1,500 and selling them, but we do have a $2,000 sale right here on eBay and a $12,000 booster box case. These were yesterday. So a $12,000 booster box case, $1,700, $1,600, a $10,000 booster box case, and then this was also yesterday as well, a $2,000 booster box. So some people are still offloading them around $1,600, maybe even $1,500 if you're lucky. Another $2,000 sale right here on May 8th. So we're just seeing the booster box price continue to rise, and it's infecting everything. So when it started with Lost Origin, right? Fusion Strike rather. The recent move up starting with Fusion Strike, right, which was something I talked about, and in my video title, it was actually just right before it started moving, and the video title was "I've never been more bullish," and this is what I was talking about. And I didn't know if it would be Evolving Skies moving first, but literally Fusion Strike moved up, and when that Fusion Strike moved up to around high sevens, low $800 range, then you have to start looking. You go, well, Evolving Skies is way better than Fusion Strike, right? And so then people started looking at Evolving Skies and they go, okay, well, Fusion's here, then Evolving has to move up. So people started buying Evolving. And then with Evolving and Fusion moving up, then they go, okay, well, what about the other sets? What about Brilliant Stars? What about Lost Origin? And then, right, you see how it carries everything up. So it only takes one set to start moving. And I mean, look at what we're seeing with Brilliant Stars right now. Like, this is kind of crazy. Brilliant Stars wasn't very expensive not that long ago, but now we're seeing, look at the listed median price on TCG Player, $600. Most recent sale at $468. The charts haven't even been able to fully update here. They have the market price at $385. Lowest listeds on TCG Player are $460. And if you go on eBay, you're not going to really, if you find a box for like less, like people haven't been tracking the current prices and they list something, scoop those up because this is what we're seeing on eBay as well. So Massive price jump on Brilliant Stars as well. Now, something that will be interesting is to see if this, because we've seen singles prices dropping right now, which is something we usually see going into the summer. I'm not sure how much, like, so the Brilliant Stars Charizard, which I think is a super amazing, best Charizard artwork, potentially undervalued. Like, with the box prices going up this rapidly, are we going to see a little bit of an uptick on that? I'm not certain, but all I know is that sealed is king, and this is why I choose to try and get a lot of booster boxes. And this is starting to change the conversation, because recently we just had a live with the Poke Office, and we were talking about buying some Sword and Shield stuff versus some Scarlet and Violet. Now the conversation's starting to change a little bit now with how expensive the Sword and Shield boxes are getting, so things are starting to look a little different now. But you're pretty much seeing your last chance to get any of these boxes at a remotely reasonable price. They're very expensive, obviously. So Brilliant Stars on an absolute rocket ship. We're seeing a similar thing with Astral Radiance. Listed median price, $500 for Astral Radiance. They got marketed at $300. Most recent sales at $400, and lowest listed at $400. So Astral Radiance is a $400 box, and it's moving its way up closer to $500. I don't know if it's going to hit $500 rather quickly. If it's going to take some time. What's going to happen there? But if we go off of what's listed currently, it's really not going to take that many sales until this is a $500 booster box. So we'll see what happens with Astral Radiance, and you will notice a big uptick in sales as well, because people are saying, oh shoot, this is my last chance to pick these boxes up before they just take off. Lost Origin. Now, Lost Origin is a great example of one of these sets that people sleep on even when they know it's good, including myself, right? I'm not saying I'm not guilty of this, because everyone does this to a certain extent. And this was one that, wasn't really that long ago, where this was available on the Pokemon Center at MSRP. And it was available there, and people weren't picking it up. And now look where it's at now. Listed median price $600, market at $430, most recent sale at $500. So, Lost Origin is a $500 box now and moving up. And you can see sales are starting to increase here as well. A lot of sales happened here when this price dipped. But people play that mind game of, they go, oh, I'll wait. It's readily available. But then once everyone starts wanting it and it starts moving, and then everyone kind of comes in at once, it shoots that price up. And this is really what happened. And this was the box that really started it this time around. I feel like last time it was Evolving Skies started moving, and then Fusion followed. This time Fusion really is leading. I mean, look at what we're seeing. The chart still has to update more, but 40% growth just recently on Fusion Strike. Listed median at 1,000. So things are going to get really crazy if this box gets near $1,000. Honestly, going to be pretty crazy there. But you got high 700s and then 800s. So we'll see where Fusion ends up. But the reason that I was saying, to elaborate just a little bit more, if you missed the other videos, I was trying to get some Fusion boxes. They were at 500. I was wanting to add some more Fusion, just to have. And I was trying to get some either locally or through somebody where I didn't have to pay like sales tax on eBay, just buy through somebody, right? And nobody wanted to sell. And that's pretty much the vibe that I was getting. If they were wanting to sell, they were wanting to sell well above market. And it wasn't just me. I was hearing this from other people. I was reaching out to other people, and they were all saying, nobody really wants to sell. So I was seeing, high demand for it, and I didn't think it would shoot up quite this quickly. But it's just people were wanting to pick it up before it was too late, and now we're starting to get to that point. Also with, we'll elaborate on this a little bit more towards the end, but with Scarlet and Violet boxes being so expensive so quickly, like out the gate, it was very easy to look at Sword and Shield. And now things are a little different, and we'll talk about that. But Fusion Strike, if you want to know why, this is what started all of the Sword and Shield boxes right now moving. Okay, then we have Chilling Reign continuing to move up as well. Listed median price $500, markets at $380. Most recent sale $450, and that's what we're seeing right here. $450s. It seems like just give it a little bit longer. This is definitely going to be a $500 box. So Chilling Reign continuing to move up, right? And then one of the last sets that's kind of lagging behind on here is your Silver Tempest. It's still very expensive. Listed median price is around 400, but this was the last one to sell out of the Pokemon Center. Nobody wanted these. Not that long ago, really. I mean, look at the 1 year here. 1 year ago. Not even a year ago, September, 154. Barely above MSRP. And these were available when this was happening right here. These were available on the Pokemon Center for 143 or whatever it was. 140 something was the MSRP. I think it was 143. So, and then now look at how much growth is happening. 93% in the past year. So Silver Tempest shooting up massively. Lowest listed right now is 355. And so it's just a matter of time till this one creeps up to 400 as well. Just give it a little bit more time. So even Silver Tempest moving up into very, very expensive booster box pricing. So where do we go from here? What, as these continue to go up, and like I said earlier, they'll level off or they'll drop a little and then they'll level off, right? You shouldn't really expect too massive of drops on these boxes. Sealed tends to hold up very well. And now what we're going to see, I would assume, is as these boxes, so what's happening is they're starting to price people out, right? People go, okay, I missed the, all the Sword and Shield stuff. It's too expensive for me. What's next? Then you start looking, you go to Scarlet and Violet, like stuff like Paldea Evolved. Now, albeit Paldea Evolved was already, I think, a great buy before, but with where Sword and Shield was, there was a lot of boxes that weren't that much more expensive. Like Silver Tempest, back here, like in February, was at 230. So when you're a much closer price or even a little bit more expensive than where Paldea is, then I went, oh, okay, well, Sword and Shield might be better. Or even Astral Radiance was at like 270 not that long ago. And so I go, okay, well, Sword and Shield may be better, safer play. But now with these prices getting $400, $500, $600, $700, $800 per booster box, then you start to look at Scarlet and Violet, right? You see what I'm saying? I've used a carousel analogy. I do think it's very appropriate. If you've watched a kid or somebody, your kid on the carousel, it goes around and then you lose them once they're out of sight. And then the next thing comes in to focus, right? And then it's just a very cyclical thing. And that's kind of what we're seeing between Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet. And, as one gets too expensive, then you go, okay, well, back to Scarlet and Violet. And Scarlet and Violet gets expensive, and you go, okay, well, now that Scarlet and Violet's up here, Sword and Shield has to come up, right? So it's like kind of this never-ending cycle that we're seeing happen. And Paldea Evolved is starting to become an old set, right? And Pokemon has to focus on printing all of these other newer sets. So this is starting to look at, like, we could still see massive Paldea Evolved reprints. It's definitely still possible, but the older the set gets, it looks less likely and less likely. So, look at what Paldea is doing. $250 a box, listed median at $300. So is this going to be the first box, that really gets up to that $300 range? Only time will tell. But I can tell you that people will start looking back to these sets. And then there is one more Sword and Shield set that still has some time. But Paldea Evolved, June 9th, 2023 release date. So we are we're not that far away, but we're going to say it's pretty much 2 years old now. So next month it'll be 2 years old. So that makes Paldea look like a much safer play, a lot easier pickup when it comes to booster boxes. Now, obviously there's other ancillary products and ETBs, and there's a ton of stuff we could talk about. But at the end of the day, booster boxes are king. With PC ETBs being their own unique thing, booster boxes are still going to be king on the long term. So this is what we're seeing. And Paldea starting to look like potentially very good pickup. And then, this is kind of the last one, right? So Battle Styles. Sword and Shield Battle Styles is not that horrible of a set, in my opinion. It did introduce alternate arts, and I do think that there are genuinely some good arts in the set, just not that popular of Pokemon that they're featuring. I think the artwork actually is pretty good. But I'm not saying once again, I'm not saying this is like the top tier set. You know, this is at the bottom for Sword and Shield. But you look at price wise, you know, these are still around $200. And you know, if this is the worst performing set of a great era, you know that all of the boxes are starting to come up at some point. Battle styles will have some movement. I don't know by how much. I'm not saying it's going to go absolutely ham. But it is one to keep an eye on. It has you know, had some movement, so just keep an eye on it. Like I said, it's not like I'm not going. If you want to use me as an example, I do have some battle styles, but I'm not going ham on battle styles currently. You know, and some people might, once it starts, it will move at some point, and once it starts to move, people will go, oh wait, I should have got battle styles, because you know, you should have got it back here when it was below MSRP, right? So pretty significant gains in the past year, 47%. So if you want some affordable Sword and Shield boxes, this is pretty much is your last set to look at. So, you know, I still would go, personally, I'd want to spend more if you can to get some of the better sets, even around the $400 range for Sword and Shield. But there is something to be said for battle styles. And like I said, I don't think it's a horrible set. It's just not as good. It just doesn't have the Pokemon to command, in my opinion. But still, Battle Styles is still a fun set. So just keep that in mind, that Battle Styles is available at $200, very reasonably priced comparatively. So at some point, it will need to move up. And then you also have the conversation, too, when you start to get into Scarlet and Violet. Other sets like Twilight Masquerade. Well, like I said, this doesn't make quite as much sense to me like Paldea. I think Paldea is a much stronger set overall, but Twilight does have a very good chase card. So depending on where the Sword and Shield boxes end up, is where I think it's going to dictate kind of, you know, and we have to worry about reprints and everything with Scarlet and Violet currently. So, you know, that definitely plays a factor. But what we have seen as far as reprints, when we do get them, it doesn't tend to have the biggest effect on things, and it's just a dip that happens, and then the supply is so high that it eats up, or rather the demand is so high, excuse me, the demand is so high it eats up the supply, and things dip for a while and then they just go back up. So that's as far as, you know, what reprints are currently doing. We haven't really seen a reprint large enough to decimate anything. So but that, you know, that's always in the back of people's minds. So the further away that the sets can get, the safer they seem like for an investment. Specifically, Sword and Shield boxes. That, I mean, across the board, I would say anything Sword and Shield, you're looking really good, honestly. Specifically, all of the alternate styles, so battle styles and up, is mostly what I'm talking about. You know, but those more of those top tier alternate art sets with good chases. So yeah, that's where we're at. I know it's been a lot of Sword and Shield talk recently, but it's worth noting and just I want to make you guys aware and kind of just give you my take on what's moving and why it's moving. I don't know where the ceiling's going to be right now on any of it, but Evolving Skies at 2K, maybe that means Fusion hits 1,000 already, or before the end of the year. I don't know how high. I don't know how crazy it's going to go. I'm not. I know it's going to sound like this, and I can totally understand how it would be taken this way. I'm not trying to create FOMO when it comes to this, but there is, and it's going to sound hypocritical, I'm acknowledging, but it's kind of like you got your last chances on some of these here, like at these prices. It's just the truth, right? I'm not trying to scare you guys into it. That's just the reality of what we're seeing with Sword and Shield. Okay, the demand is too high, the supply is too low. People see the value. People understand. You have more people than ever wanting to hold on to these boxes because they know where they're going to go, right? We have the blueprint in front. Team Up is the blueprint for Evolving Skies. Evolving Skies is the ceiling for Sword and Shield, and everything else will follow. So, and the more and more time that goes by, the more and more rip-in shippers that rip these packs every single day, these boxes are going down. The supply is going down every single day. So that definitely plays a factor moving forward. So I'm still extremely, extremely bullish on Sword and Shield, but the conversation's starting to change with how expensive these are getting. I still think there is a little bit of time on a lot of these boxes. I still like Evolving Skies, even at 2K. I still like Fusion Strike where it's at. I still like Lost Origin. But you start to the conversation of that we were having on the live stream with the Poke Office was Colin was saying which is more likely to double. You start looking at Paldea, you know, at your 250 mark, and then you go, okay, well, Paldea to 500 seems maybe more likely before Fusion Strike. If it's at 8, goes to 1600. So, you know, I totally see that argument, and that starts to make more sense now moving forward. But it's a very interesting time because we were seeing a lot of stuff start to come down, mostly singles though. And then now all of a sudden, like a Sword and Shield, like a little boom happening. So very interesting, and I do find it fascinating. It's a little bit sad because there was still, was currently in Sword and Shield trying to load up on more positions for Sword and Shield for booster boxes across the board. But you know, it is what it is. At this point, it just means that I'm going to be able to get less boxes, but I'm still the most bullish I've ever been, specifically on Sword and Shield, and also Scarlet and Violet. Scarlet and Violet's a great era as well. But yeah, so that's all I have for this one, guys. Hopefully, this was my ramble at the end. Hopefully that information got to you guys and made sense. If you're this far in the video and you're not already subscribed, obviously you enjoyed the content. So do yourself a favor and hit the subscribe button, because we do talk daily about shiny pieces of cardboard. Market updates, we got new release stuff, all sorts, everything, every information that you would need about Pokemon card collecting and investing. That's all I have for this one, guys. I'll catch you in the next one. And remember, it was never a phase.